They're big and bad.
Folks, please take cover immediately.
The most terrorizing twisters of all time.
Unbelievable!
The deadliest.
I'll never get my husband's screaming at my head.
The most destructive.
Damage is being done in Tuscaloosa.
A monster that rips a newborn from its mother's arms.
I was begging to die because I'd lost Leah.
An unpredictable giant that slams storm chasers.
Next thing you know, it's just this violent tumbling over and over and crush, crush, crush.
And a tornado so devastating, it still causes panic long after it's gone.
It wasn't just a little fear. This was a big, bad fear.
We're counting down the top 10 worst tornadoes. Tornadoes. They're the most ferocious forces that Mother Nature can muster up. Hello, I'm meteorologist Tim Cantore, and prepare yourself for a wild ride as we roll out the top 10 worst tornadoes of all time. Here in the U.S., we average about 1,300 tornadoes a year, which on average kills 70 people. These twisters come in all shapes and sizes and can last seconds or be on the ground for hours. But we're talking about the most malicious supercells and extraordinary super outbreaks ever to touch down in the U.S.
When you see one of these monster tornadoes, you never forget it. It's etched in your brain forever. Because it's almost like you're having an out-of-body experience. Like you can't believe what you're seeing is real.
It's always kind of shocking to see that nature can become so explosive and so deadly.
There aren't very many things that are capable of knocking houses down, and yet tornadoes can do that without a whole lot of trouble.
We often get questions about, well, why don't we just do something to dissipate tornadoes? Well, the answer is that energy concentration is so large that it would take something like a thermonuclear device to dissipate a tornado.
It's like watching a rotational bomb go off. And they're very dangerous. And they're a little bit mysterious. We don't exactly understand why they form, and we can't predict them very far in advance.
Our countdown criteria was determined by the Weather Channel's world-renowned severe weather experts and takes into consideration damage, deaths, size, and strength. So let's get started, and we do so with a real beast. It's one of the widest twisters ever recorded, and its unusual movement made it a nightmare for storm chasers. At number 10, the 2013 El Reno, Oklahoma tornado. Impact winds up to 295 miles per hour and grew to a staggering 2.6 miles wide. Although it stayed over mostly open terrain, its huge size and unusual movement caught dozens of storm chasers off guard. 4 of them, including well-known veteran researcher Tim Samaras, were killed when their vehicles were thrown.
The tornado has several violent multiple vortices within inside of it, and it makes a turn to the left. And while that's not completely unusual, it's not all that common. And that's one of the things that I think caught a lot of people by surprise was how it did that. The El Reno tornado is clearly going to be remembered for what occurred to storm chasers on that day.
This tornado made a rather abrupt left turn, but often as they make that left turn, they begin to shrink. This one actually was growing to its maximum width as it was making that turn, which made it very, very dangerous.
We had a tornado hunt crew that took a direct hit from this tornado as well. They were led by meteorologist Mike Bettis, who's extremely experienced and safety conscious. Here's a first-hand, harrowing account of what they went through.
It's not good for El Reno. You gotta get ahead of it, Casey. You gotta get ahead of it.
We find a wide shoulder to pull off on. Our 3 cars pull over to the side. We do a broadcast for roughly 2 minutes or so.
Look at that monster. It's a huge tornado.
And then we make the decision that we need to move.
We may actually quickly try to get in our cars and get south of this. That would be the safest place to do that.
From the time we stop broadcasting to the time we end up getting hit, it's 4 minutes. The tornado expands by a mile and increases its forward speed by 20 miles an hour. It ends up being a perfect storm. It just hits us broadside on the passenger side of our car and tosses us off into a field. And remember, yelling to the guys, get down.
Hold on, brothers. Hold on.
You know, duck down, and all I'm thinking is cover your head, get down below the windows. Next thing you know, it's just this violent tumbling over and over and crush, 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 and you're just being thrown And then there's this moment, I remember, where we were lifted off the ground. It felt like an eternity. It was literally probably a second or two. We're floating in the air, and I'm having this thought, you know, man, like, am I dead? Is this kind of what it feels like to ascend to heaven? And I also remember at the same time, I mean, I saw my wife's face. She didn't say anything. It was just her face that appeared, and then next thing you know, crash. I mean, we come down, we hit hard, and we just start tumbling over and over and over again. I remember when we hit, I remember thinking that I was alive. I remember thinking, man, I'm not dead. I didn't die when we hit, and then we finally stopped, right side up. And I just remember screaming to the other guys, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And they all responded back. Everyone was alive. Everyone was conscious. And it was just a huge relief to know that everyone had made it through it. I was recording out of the window, and I rolled the window up. All of a sudden, the window bashes out. I'm just trying to hold on to the camera. I've got the camera around my lens. It's on my shoulder. And I'm just trying to hold on, and I couldn't hold on after a while, and it just flew out. I didn't know what happened to it, and luckily somehow it landed, and I kept recording. And actually, it's the camera that's shooting this interview right now. I watched that video of that camera landing in the field, perfectly framing our truck, just rolling through that field. I mean, it's amazing. I just, every time I see it, it feels like you're watching your own death.
What an incredible and terrifying ordeal to have to go through. Our next event began while 24 states were holding primary elections to select a presidential candidate. At number 9, it's the 2008 Super Tuesday outbreak. It generated 86 tornadoes over 15 hours across 10 states in the lower Ohio Valley and the southern U.S.
This is the largest February tornado outbreak on record. Pretty rare for this time of year, certainly not unheard of for there to be tornado outbreaks in the months of January and February, but usually you're expecting them later on in the spring.
And some of these tornadoes were nighttime tornadoes, and so they're hard to see coming. And so people don't have all the sensory information that they might otherwise have in a daytime outbreak.
There were 57 fatalities, making it the second deadliest outbreak in the month of February since 1950. 31 people were killed in Tennessee, which took the brunt of the system.
The outbreak featured 5 tornadoes that were rated EF4, including one that hit Jackson, Tennessee. Every building of Union University was damaged.
I was the most scared I've ever been in my life. And then, I knew there was a lot of damage, but then we walked outside, and it was worse than I had ever imagined it would be.
It's a wonder that we didn't have, dozens, but possibly hundreds of people killed. And we got out of here without anybody killed.
What makes it memorable to so many people is it was given the name Super Tuesday outbreak, is because there were so many people voting that day, because it's a busier day than normal, and it's a busier weather day than normal. And not everyone's watching the weather. Everyone's watching politics that day. And then the weather became the story of the day.
Coming up on our countdown of the top 10 worst tornadoes. A tornado with the highest winds ever recorded. You won't believe what it did to a newborn baby.
That should have killed me, but it didn't. It just flung me.
And later, a twister so powerful that it nearly scared some people to death.
I was hyperventilating